Hey, what's going on, guys? Shizanara here. Just want to bring some attention here to Apple. This was brought to my attention by Builder News. They are a gaming channel. They talk about video games and stuff, but this is going to impact a lot more than just the games industry, a lot more than just Fortnite and Apple's fight that's been going on in court. This is going to affect everybody in the world who has an iPhone. So, let's go. Let's get started. I'll explain more in detail on the points you don't hit, like right to repair, stuff like that. It just proves that Apple has been criminally motivated for a long time to be a monopoly and hold everything they can, take all your money as much as they can. They are not your friend. They are not consumer friendly. And finally, the courts see this. Let's get into it.
More than almost anything we talk about on the channel, today's story is actually going to tangibly impact you. So, for 5 years, there's been a battle waging at the highest levels of the games industry. It's massive, it's between Apple, it's between Epic, and it's around the principle of fairness. And the big news today is that Apple just lost.
They lost. No more control of the App Store for Apple. They cannot control everything about your device that you own. Let's go.
But they didn't lose because Epic Games outmaneuvered them or any kind of insane gigabrain play from Tim Sweeney. No, they lost because, in the words of the judge presiding over this decision, Apple leadership, quote, outright lied under oath, and in deciding not to comply with legal injunctions, Tim Cook, quote, chose poorly.
Wow. Let's go back to that. Apple willfully violated a 2021 injunction that came out of the Epic Games case, which was Epic and Fortnite. Y'all know the game Fortnite, biggest game probably in the world. Apple kept them from being on the App Store because they wanted every single little bit of money that came from this game just because he played on an iPhone, basically. A lot of bull. So, Apple Vice President of Finance, Alex Roman, outright lied to the court about when Apple had decided to levy a 27% fee on some purchases linked to its App Store. Neither Apple nor its counsel corrected the now obvious lies, obvious lies the judge said in court. They have adopted the lies and misrepresentations to this court.
And in deciding not to comply with legal injunctions, Tim Cook, quote, chose poorly. It's an ominous thing for a judge to be saying to you. This, though, is a dramatic case. It has impacts that will reverberate.
Apple does not care about the consumer. They do not care about you. They care about money. That's it. They want your money. Those iPhones do not cost that much to make. They're very cheaply made in China.
Across the entire games industry, and honestly, far wider than that, meaning it truly will impact everyone who watches this video.
It's going to impact everyone in the world who has an iPhone. Everyone. Speak it, Beller. This guy, smart. This is more than just a game issue.
Here's how all this started. So Tim Sweeney is a man on a mission, and it's a mission that's cost him and his company more than $1 billion over the last 5 years. It's fair to say that he's pretty committed. Now, 5 years ago is when he decided that Apple and Google's exclusive storefronts on their mobile platforms were in fact unreasonable monopolies. In his opinion, essentially, he says that they don't earn their 30% fee. Rather, they impose it, and that because of that, they're restricting how developers could make money and what sort of deals that they could actually offer to consumers. So what he decided to do was force their hand. So he started something called Project Liberty, and here's how it worked. Fortnite suddenly got an option where users could buy currency directly from Epic, right?
All right, so basically, on Fortnite, it's a game. You can buy in-game money to buy stuff in the game, cosmetic stuff. But they put a payment where you can buy it on their website, which every company in the world, you can buy stuff from their website. So they made it where you can directly buy it from their website instead of the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Apple didn't like that. They want their 30% for doing nothing. They want all the money.
Directly, not through your Apple payment or Google payment thing. That, of course, meant that Apple and Google immediately booted Fortnite because it did break their store policies. And this
Look at this. Epic Games has defied the App Store monopoly. In retaliation, Apple blocked the game from 1 billion devices. They blocked the game from 1 billion. So, nope, you can't play this game. Because we're not getting our 30% for doing nothing, for being a monopoly, for being an evil corporation.
This is exactly what Tim Sweeney actually wanted. He wanted his game to be kicked off. And we pretty much know that because Epic immediately filed lawsuits that they had been preparing, and these were designed to force the stores to change those policies. Now, in the case of Google,
it affects every developer on the App Store, not just games. Any app, any developer in the world. This is epic. Nobody's covering this. This guy's covered it. This is more than just games here, people. More than just a video game issue.
It actually went so much better than any of us could have expected. Evidence actually emerged that certain developers like Activision had been paid not to rock the boat, and that they deleted documents and were...
Hold up, what now? Google paid the equivalent of $360 million to Activision Blizzard, who makes Call of Duty, that they would not rock the boat. They wouldn't make a rival app store. So Google paid Activision to not do that. And other developers. Okay. I'm sure Apple did the same thing, or they were just scared of Apple. I don't know. Let's see.
And that they deleted documents and were broadly proven to have acted unfairly. They lost on all counts as determined by a jury. The platform was opened up to new stores and Google have appealed. It was a complete win for Epic. The platform was opened up to new stores and Google have appealed. It was a complete win for Epic, but their fight against Apple is an entirely different story. Things have begun to look quite bad for Epic. You see, the outcome of that initial trial, the original one, was an almost complete defeat for Epic Games. They basically could not prove being the emphasis word there, that any kind of monopoly or...
You gotta prove it. Apple thought they were slick. Let's see what gets proven, Apple.
Unfair action was going on. But there was one exception. An injunction was placed against Apple, and this was to end anti-steering provisions. You might think, what is anti-steering? Well, it's actually pretty simple. So basically, it meant that Apple could no longer prevent developers from directing users to make purchases outside of the store.
Let's go. This is funny. This is crazy. Apple, not your friend.
Users to make purchases outside of the store. So basically steering you, the customer, somewhere else. So as an example, that would be buying V-Bucks in Fortnite through a web client rather than through Apple's purchasing system, which would thus avoid Apple's 30% cut. Now, at the time, the judge said that Apple should be entitled to something, but that they can't force people to use their in-app purchase systems. Apple then spent 3 years appealing, and you know, it's Apple, they can afford lawyers, but they really got nowhere on that front. And this is when that same judge came back and filed a new injunction against Apple for their behavior in the last 3 years. And this one truly is remarkable, and depending on how things shake out, there could even be a criminal component. It's quite wild. So, it wasn't just for a lack of compliance with the original order, but for contempt of court, which is usually frowned upon. So much so that they've been referred to the U.S. Attorney's Office to...
Look at this. Apple willfully chose not to comply with this court's injunction. It did so with the express intent to create new anti-competitive barriers, which would, by design and in effect, maintain a valued revenue stream, a revenue stream previously found to be anti-competitive. That it thought this court would tolerate such insubordination was a gross miscalculation. As always, the cover-up made it worse. For this court, there is no second bite at the apple. It is so ordered. Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers, United States District Judge, April 30th, 2025. Fuck you, Apple. Take that shit.
Consider criminal contempt proceedings. That
criminal contempt proceedings. Charge them. Put somebody in jail over this shit.
would be dramatic. Now, the judge essentially was not pleased that Apple implemented new costly fees around off-app purchases, where basically they were effectively replacing one anti-competitive process with another, meaning, of course, devs lose, but also us customers lose. And
Apple think they slick. Apple thought they were slick, thought they could pull a blindfold over the judge's eyes and just, oh, I don't understand the internet. I don't understand how the internet works. I don't understand how this app store thing works. I'm just a judge. We're just the court. We don't know nothing. Fuck you, Apple. Consequences, damn right. Somebody better go to jail over this shit. Criminal charges.
While they were doing all that, they were also misleading the court over what they were doing. Here's a quote. That it thought this court would tolerate such insubordination was a gross miscalculation. As always, the cover-up made it worse. For this court, there is no second bite of the apple.
Ooh. I like seeing that. I like reading that. Apple willfully chose not to comply with this court's injunction that it thought this court would tolerate such insubordination and insubordination was a gross miscalculation. As always, the cover-up made it worse. For this court, there is no second bite at the apple. Finally, you fucked around with right to repair. You don't want people to repair their own devices. Y'all evil, money-hungry corporation. You got so much money. Why keep trying to take more and more and more and more? What are y'all doing? And bring some jobs to America. Fuck China. Fuck you, Apple. This is rightly justified. Y'all, somebody needs to go to jail there. A lot of people.
Yeah, GG, Judge. Quite the zinger. So
GG.
She laid out then some clear rules. These are practices that Apple are banned from. Number 1, imposing a fee in purchases made outside an app. That means that they have no reason, therefore, to track those purchases. Setting conditions on how devs can direct users outside of an app, including restricting how links work. Basically, you know those design anti-patterns that are just trying to get you, the consumer, to clearly do something by, making a link look weird or a misleading design, that sort of thing. Third, banning certain types of app from directing users to outside purchases. And finally, using, quote, emotive language to persuade consumers to remain in the in-store purchase system.
That's like them saying, okay, you can go buy this at another place, but are they as trustworthy as Apple? Do they have our security? It's not going to be secure like Apple. You're going to get scammed. You're going to get your bank account ripped to nothing, all the money taken out because you don't choose to use Apple. You don't choose to use our checkout method and give us the money. We'll protect you. We'll protect you.
Basically scaring people who don't know better, and, well, we've actually seen Apple do some...
People that don't know better. People that don't know better. Hopefully this reaches some of y'all. Apple, the criminal company, this is proof. They care nothing about you. They don't care about you buying their phone. They care about you buying their phone. They don't care about you and your phone. That is not your phone. That's Apple's phone. They own your phone. They can turn your phone off anytime they want. Hopefully this puts an end to a lot of this bullshit that Apple's been doing. And they need to step up and be a real American company and be for the United States and quit putting all the work in China. Or go to China. I only sell in China. I don't know. Apple needs to do something. Hopefully somebody goes to jail.
Things saying you can go and make a purchase not using the App Store, but the App Store is very secure and very safe, which to an average person who's not tech savvy could basically look like it's Apple saying, hey, you could get scammed if you don't click this link. Yes, this link gets us lots of money too. And of course the reason why these things are banned is, well, because Apple had been doing all of these things. That's what's led to this whole case. Now in response, they have now begun...
Let's go back to what that said.
Too. And of course,
Apple was afforded ample opportunity to respond to the injunction. It chose to defy this court's order and manufacture post hoc justifications, which means justifications after the fact. for maintaining an anti-competitive revenue stream. Apple's actions to misconstrue the injunction continue to impede competition. This court will not play whack-a-mole, nor will it tolerate further delay. So for 3 years, Apple has been defying the court order, trying to be slick, trying to be a little gangsters, trying to be a little thieves. They're thieves. Trying to hide. Still getting their money. I want to see accountability. Accountability for this has to happen. Apple, I got an iPhone. I love my iPhone. Y'all make good stuff. Why do this? Why so anti-consumer? Why so anti? Why are you a monopoly? Why do you want to control everything? They want to control everything.
The reason why these things are banned is, well, because Apple had been doing all of these things. That's what's led to this whole case. Now, in response, they have now begun complying and appealing. It'll be interesting to see how malicious their compliance is. I imagine it will be as malicious as is humanly possible without...
As malicious as humanly possible. They will comply, but not comply, because they think they're smarter than everybody else in the world, even the court, even this judge. They defied the judge's ruling. Blatantly, they did it. Criminal charges got to be filed. Accountability needs to be held. Come on, United States. Do it. Don't be scared of Apple. Don't be scared of Apple.
Okay.
Come on, United States. Do it. Don't be scared of Apple. Don't be scared of Apple.
Getting in even more trouble. But all of this is happening while the rest of the industry is licking its lips. Some developers already had updates to go in this. Spotify were a major one. They framed this as a huge consumer win.
Spotify, take advantage of it. Now, Apple doesn't get a cut of Spotify. Because Spotify, you can get your subscription to Spotify on their website. You don't need the App Store to do that. Good. See, it's going to affect everybody. Every developer on iOS, on the iPhone, everybody in the world is affected by this.
In fairness, I would say it absolutely is.
Came out of gaming. Came from a video game. Changing the world how Apple has to do their business. The corporate monopoly that they so want to be. Controllers of the world and everything digital in your life on your phone. They want to control it and own you and own your data and own everything. This is the first step into breaking that shit. Fuck you, Apple.
Now we can do insane things like manage our subscriptions in an app. We can use different payment options and we can see costs. You can now buy Kindle books in the Kindle app. Patreon memberships are no longer marked up.
Well, these guys were ready for this. Other companies were like, everybody was scared nobody would take Apple down. It took Epic, the makers of Fortnite, to stand up to Apple, to lose billions of dollars because their game was not on the iPhone. And they won, and Apple defied the court. This is crazy. Apple doesn't give a fuck about the court. They think they are above the law, and there needs to be some accountability. Reconciliation is coming. It's coming for you, Apple.
Up on iOS to counteract the store tax, and lots of things. But of course, let's bring it back to Tim Sweeney and Epic Games. So, the Epic Games Store mobile version already existed as of last year, but now they are really ramping things up. Within a week of the ruling, Epic announced their web store fee would drop to 0% for your first $1 million in revenue, with that starting this June. That's obviously pretty awesome if you're a dev.
Wow.
Plus, much like they have done with the Epic Online Services stuff, what they've done with the store is they've built a solution that people can use regardless of platform. So, be it Google, be it Apple, anything. But more than that, it doesn't need to be the literal Epic Games Store. That's because web shops can basically run on their infrastructure, and that will let any developer go outside Apple's payment system with no fuss.
No fuss. See? This has been done for a long time. Apple tried to take advantage of the common person, the person that doesn't know technology, doesn't understand the internet, and say you have to buy everything through the App Store. It's all going to come through Apple. You can't do anything on your phone unless it goes through Apple because we are Apple. Fuck you, Apple. It's time to shit change. Google didn't get as brave as Apple and try to be so slick, try to be so malicious, and defy the court. Lie to the judge, lie to the court. They're bad people. Apple, what's wrong with you?
Yes, Tim Sweeney's definitely taken this one personal, and you know what? I'm here for the drama. Anyway, it is great for devs, but players are also being incentivized here, where you're going to get 5% reward points through purchases on those shops and the Epic Games Store, but that's boosted to 20% until the end of August. So that essentially is the big clap back against Apple. But there is the other thing, the Fortnite. So Tim Sweeney...
So basically, now that Apple can control everything bought on their phone, you can go through Epic's site. Epic's rewarding other app developers and whatnot. They can distribute, and they got the payment system set up for them. They're not even going to charge them that much. They're saying, yeah, you got an iPhone, you don't even have to deal with the App Store no more. Just use us. Apple. Oh, I'm laughing at y'all. Accountability needs to be held, though. Criminal charges. Bring it down on them.
Has proposed that Fortnite can return to app stores within weeks, like super quick, provided Apple allows them to do so. He also said he'll drop all litigation as part of a peace plan, provided Apple roll out this policy worldwide. And instead, as of the time of writing and recording this video, Apple have, went and blocked the Fortnite submission. Now,
oh yeah, when the judge said let Fortnite come back on the iOS store, Apple delayed it as many days as they could. These fuckers, they don't care. They just like to fuck with you and fuck with people. They want to control your life and control everything about you. I love my iPhone, but damn. This is going to change the world. This is changing the world. Thanks to video games. Fortnite, Epic, thank y'all for doing this. Brave company that says, fuck Apple. Let's go.
Now, of course, all of this legal maneuvering so far is only in the US. The current policy implementation on Apple's side only applies in that region right now. Fortunately, though, for those of us benefiting from EU rules, we've already had some things for months already, and Apple can't stop it. An absolute bomb was dropped in the industry in March of this year when both Google and Apple were found to be in breach of the Digital Markets Act by the EU Commission. And this is pretty damn big stuff. They can absolutely sting these companies. So with Google, it was for anti-steering practices, and Apple was for blocking third parties from interfacing with their systems.
Blocking third parties from interfacing. So Europe already started this. See this all around the world. Apple, bad player in the whole world. Bad Apple. Bad Apple. Somebody needs to go to jail. Multiple people. Put the CEO in jail. Somebody.
Now, this follows last August's, told you we'd come back to that, ruling that Apple had to open their platform up to alternative stores, and another breach from Apple in April of this year, also on steering. Now, in that last case, they also faced a cool little €500 million fine for what was absolutely flagrant breaches of the law. Apple are obviously appealing because that's what you do when you're a company, but there's a there's a clear trend. The tide is absolutely shifting. Now, it's not going to happen in all regions, but we are seeing regulation over major platforms to protect consumer interests from companies who otherwise would control them. So between that and...
Want to control them. They want to control. The name of the game for Apple? Control. Not just video games or apps. Control everything that you do on your phone. Everything about your life. Because your life is your phone. What would you do without your phone? You need your phone. I don't think many of you could survive. Many of us could survive without a cell phone. I could. I've been raised where I live off the land. Don't need communications outside the world. But a lot of people would die. Go crazy. Lose their mind. I don't want to lose the stuff. I like it. I like my iPhone. I like my internet. I like my computer. I like gaming. But so be it if it has to be gone so I don't be controlled by some evil corporation. Apple needs to be held accountable. Somebody needs to go to jail. I'm glad these criminal charges are coming. The criminal charges are coming, Apple. Get ready.
And I guess a billionaire slap fight led by Tim Sweeney. Well,
Tim
look,
Sweeney.
we should take these wins when we can get them. Not to bring up
we
an
gotta
old
win.
drama, and it is a bit of a different story, but I suppose a little bit like how Hulk Hogan versus Gawker was, in fact, Peter Thiel versus Gawker. This is all kind of billionaire slap fights. Now, the thing with Tim Sweeney, right? He does have good principles. There are good principles that he talks about, right? And yes, it's good he's trying to hold Apple to those, but that does not make Tim Sweeney automatically on your side.
True.
Sometimes it just so happens that we're aiming at the same target. Now, he will end up benefiting from this massively and in a financial way.
He's going to benefit financially. I mean, yeah, that's fine. I'm glad. Let him. He took down the giant. He stood up against Apple. He should reap some rewards. What? Sure. Free market. All he's doing is showing a free market, making the free market a reality instead of a monopoly controlled by Apple.
And of course, that's because his company is the one building the wraparound solutions that power these out-of-app purchases. And that's really big. And that means that we can appreciate the consumer good that this does. We absolutely can. And the work...
Good for the consumer. Good for us. Good for the consumer. You have choices. You do not have to go with the App Store. You do not have to do everything Apple says now just to do something on your phone. But let's see what they do. Let's see what Apple pulled out of their ass to try to be as malicious and evil of a corporation that they are. Let's see what they try to defy the court order this time. Let's see. Put some handcuffs on some motherfuckers there. Maybe they'll stop doing it.
That the regulators are doing to break down these walled gardens. And in an ideal world, right, once the walled garden is so big and so ubiquitous, you might have to, restrict the freedom of Apple to go and run a monopoly, because not only will it be good for consumers, it will also be good for competition. But I also do think, Standard Oil gets broken up. Who's left with the money to gobble up all the assets? Oh, pretty much the same people. So there's always that thing then where you can have these good pro-consumer regulations, but it's the incumbents with the resources who are immediately able to get around them or exploit the new opportunity. And Epic Games basically, doing its store as a backend to do payment providing for everybody else. Well, while it is good because
it is good, but I wouldn't say that's only if Apple gobbles up, like if they broke Apple up. But another store coming in and giving you options besides the App Store, yeah, they're so big they're the only ones that can do it. But that's fair competition. I mean, that's fair competition.
Because it means there is more competition, it also does disproportionately benefit Tim Sweeney. So, Tim Sweeney, you know what? You have led to a domino of events that I think is absolutely good for consumers, and I think it's good for developers.
Good for the world. Good for everybody.
Does not mean we will not be critical of you. And on the topic of the good guys being, let's just say, a little bit rumbly, okay, we have to talk about Capcom, and the good news is you...
Okay, guys. Well, that is. I'll put a link to that video in the description. That's Bellier News, gaming YouTube site, talks about games. So I hadn't seen any coverage of this on mainstream media. But leave it to a video game person, video game channel to expose and tell what Apple's doing. There's so much good to gaming. So much good to gaming. Gaming is great. Keep playing games, y'all. Shizanara out. Fuck Apple. Somebody needs to go to jail. This is great. Good job, Bellier News. Shizanara out.